The teaching of the Keshe Foundation in the past few weeks has been concentrated on what we call the understanding of the work of the souls of the system, which is the control system, the power unit of the system, the what we call interaction of the system, what we call the plasma of the soul of the man, the plasma of the creation of the emotion of the man, the plasma of the what we call physicality of the man, the soul of physicality of the man. You got to realize what we have taught in past few weeks, it can be replicated with systems. In so many ways, we can replicate many things. From what we understand now, we can replicate emotion of the man in the dimension of the plasma, which reacts and interacts very much like a body of the man. That how we learn these things, it comes to understand the truth about exactly what we have taught in the past years. There is no difference. The soul of the man is the sun. The soul of the physicality is the earth. The interaction between the fields of the two entities, one being stronger and one slightly weaker, creates, as we see in the upper atmospheres of this planet, the plasma of the hydrogen, the plasma of oxygen, the plasma of gold. In the interaction of the fields of the body of the man, as they are in essence in the dimension of the soul of the plasma, they create plasmatic sections like joy, happiness, recognition, knowledge. So there is no difference in the process of the creation. In a way, instead of having a planetary system like Earth fixed in a position, rotating around the sun, now the sun has kept its place, but the system, instead of rotating as an entity like a spherical object like Earth, it rotates in the blood flow of the man, in the smaller information, emotion and everything else. And in that process creates a continuous flow of miniature Earth conditions that in interaction with the fields of the soul of the man creates what we call those hydrogens, those carbons, those CO2s and the gold, which we call different emotions. So the knowledge of the man about the creation of his life is very simple. The distance between the sun and earth is covered by a huge gap. That some of the fields of the sun, by radiating out, by the time they reach earth, lose some of their strength, or at given the strength reach this, what we call the upper atmosphere of the earth, then in interaction with the fields of the earth, gravitational magnetical, they create these packages of plasmas of the matter state, but in plasma state. But in what we call the dimension of physicality, when these plasmas come in touch with the inertia of the what we call the earth, they convert into matter state. But as the flow of the fields in the blood of the man is in dynamic condition, and then in their interaction with the field of the plasma in the brain of the man, they create the emotion. But at the same time, this blood flows to a given position, as we said from the beginning of the teaching. Every cell in the blood of the man is taxi designated destination. It only goes to one place according to the field strength. So when it takes the emotion with it, it goes to where it's supposed to feed, its common denominator cell. And in releasing that field, it transfers the emotion of the man, which is created in the interaction of the physicality and other emotions from different cells of the body of the man and the soul of the man to that part. So in a way, we even understand how now for the first time our emotion through interaction between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man in radiating its fields, one way hits the blood circulation of the cell which brought the information, and on the other hand, its field is spreading out through the body of the man, hits the body of the man in a different strength field from the sun itself, and creates the condition that is being carried by the blood. So in a way, the inertia is created by the interaction of the fields. But because the inertia is plasmatic in both cases, does not become a solid state, but it becomes a plasmatic state of the cell of the man. This gives the man a new opportunity. But the whole essence of this matter is to be created is that heartbeat, is a natural heartbeat which the blood itself makes by transferring some of its energy in the heart of the man. In so many ways, every cell carries a number of functions, not only bringing the information, not only bringing the emotion, not only creating the magnetic field to contain the soul of the man, not only carries the charges which leads to transfer of the energy to the heart, create a combination of what we call rhythmic, continuous heartbeat. This heartbeat cannot be introduced in any other shape but by the blood flow itself. It's the one which carries the charges. And in so many ways, the combination of the heartbeat is controlled by what we call the amount of the energy through the air, through breathing. And anybody can change, confirm, transfer, and recharge the cells and the walls of the heart. In so many ways, if we manage to create a correct heartbeat in a continuation of the flow of the blood through the lung itself, we can take the heart out of the circulation. We have seen this with many animals. We can take the heart out and the body will replicate the work and create the heart. We've seen this in the fish. We have seen in a couple of other animals that we can take the organs out, but the organ is replicated and made. This is the knowledge which man needs to learn. This is not the way that it works through what we call the DNA and cloning of the parts. This is the way the cloning of the body of the man is made, or any other animal. This goes back again to, without understanding of the emotion, you cannot create the replication of the heart. Without understanding the creation of the plasma of the emotion in interaction with the work of the lung, the air intake, you cannot replicate the creation of the heart. This is why when our breathing changes, our heartbeat changes. When our emotion changes, our breathing changes and our heartbeat changes. Now we understand more. Now we understand the truth about our own creation. This is not, as we've seen, many claim that they can replicate the making of a heart. Theoretically, yes, you can. Show us practically. It's impossibilities. In so many ways, they have claims that they can make organs within the body. We've seen some of the knowledge seekers who left, we've been taught by Keshe Foundation, have made these claims in systems they're trying to copy, but none have been delivered. In a way, because they never understood the truth about the creation, as we explained in the past few minutes. In so many ways, in the new enhancement unit, which will be delivered by the Keshe Foundation, all this has been taken in position. In a way, you can take the heart of the man from the body of the man and let the body of the man to create a new heart on its own. There is no need for what we call heart transplant. There is no need to take a heart from another person. Once you understand the process, you can even allow the heart in so many ways to replicate its work. We have shown this in an effective way in past few weeks with a few of the knowledge seekers randomly who had these kind of problems. In so many ways, mankind has reached a point of maturity that understand the totality. in so many ways, do we need to worry how we look and what we lose in the space? Do we worry that how every cell of our body will replicate across the universe according to time, place, and position, and at the same time to inertial mass of the fields of the plasma of the cell? In the coming time, knowledge of the knowledge seekers will reach the point that even by through the thoughts, they can replicate, they can repair every organ within their body. Mankind has had such a knowledge for a long time, but as it took more the dimension of physicality, the knowledge has been lost in the practical side, but still sits within the RNA of the matter. At the same time, part of the DNA cell chain is for this purpose. Every arm of what we call DNA carries replication process information within its structure. But it does not sit in the sequence that most of the scientists in what we call DNA, what we call technology, have thought about it. One of the most important part of the DNA of the man is understanding the parallel RNA and how the sequence of the two sits within each other in consequence and in interaction of the creator, creation of the soul of every arm of the DNA and RNA. What does this mean? It's very simple. In the process of what we see, for example, an arm of DNA and sitting with it with arm of RNA, which are mainly the same, we see sequences, very simple, that we understand the information and we see the sequences which is now allocated to certain work. But what in fact most of the scientists in the world of DNA have not understood, that when you look at every DNA, every arm of DNA, every combination of DNA, they are all amino acid based. So what it means is the plasma gravitational magnetic field of this has to be considered in respect to this, in respect to this, and the interaction of these fields with each other. At the moment, the scientists only consider sequential numbers and series of the amino acids. But as they don't understand the work of the plasma, that DNA works with the plasmatic condition, they have not learned to, or they do not understand that the gravitational magnetic field of these and their interaction with each other has a direct effect in how the body of the man works. And each one of these creates its own emotion. When you have number 1 and number 5 interacting, creates a different emotion in a creation. And then in that emotion, that field strength creates what we call defects. They only look at the space gap of the set. They don't look at the plasmatic condition, that these sets in interaction with each other and even with the other arms of RNA and DNA is created. This is why man still has a lot to learn in the process of understanding his own genetic code. Because our scientists at the moment are only involved with the physical dimension. They have not understood that what we call the amino acid of the body of the man is in a plasmatic condition, and it creates gravitational magnetic fields, which in a way interacts with everything else, and in interaction, it has different reactions and the conditions. If the scientists of what we call genetic understand this, they will find out by adding or creating a slight field differences in certain points, they can correct most of the genetic defects in the human race. Because then they don't deal with proteins and amino acids, but they will deal with the space gap positioning that allows what is short to be added or deformities to be positioned. In a way, they are still working with mortar and bricks, but they don't understand there is a magnetic field gap spacing due to the position and the construction of the body of the man, which is in a vacuum, which is in a magnetic plasmatic field condition. This is why we see so much defects in the human race, because these space gaps in the interaction will create different fields in respect to each other. And this is why we have the condition of today and all the mayhem we have in the world of genetics and replication of different cells and different bodies of the man, as each one interacts in a different way with the same and neighboring cells. The present scientists only look at the observation of what they think is the absolute matter state, and they have not understood the Ganser state. But on the other hand, what is important to all this together is the fact that even you have different strand and different combination of DNA on the arms that create their own structure, all these have in interaction with each other not only create a field direction, but they carry emotional interaction with each other too. The emotion of the man, when it's transferred through the body of the man, through the blood, through the physical, what we call soul, with the soul of the man, carries the emotion of every part of the DNA, which is collectively has been reported. This is how we get what we call evolution of genes. Because this emotion through the what we call DNA, once is set up to work, it will work not only through DNA, but it becomes part of the information line of what we call the RNA, which is permanent recording without the material. So we see that the emotion even sits within the structure of the basic blocks of life within the structure of the body of the man. This is part which has been ignored, but in so many ways in the science of the what we call physiology of the man cannot be ignored if you work in the true dimensions of the plasma and plasmatic conditions within the structure of the man and in the environment of the structure of the man and within the universe of the structure of the man. In the future teachings, one day we might explain that how you can even interact with these remotely from outside. We can change genetic defects if we develop the technologies which measures the magnetic field of every genetic coding and then slightly change it to be the right place for the others to move in a correct position and rectify and repair the what we call genetic damage. Even if the child is in 20s and 30s, born with a total handicap, if the genes could be reached in this manner, gradually the life will go to normality for the defect. These kind of technologies is what you will see in the coming time out of the University of Iran. We will teach this in a rapid way upon our return. That we start creating a perfect man, not only in the dimension of the soul, but in the dimension of physicality. When the man leaves this planet, will leave as a smart, educated about his own life and about the universe, but will live as a perfect man in a physical and soul condition. They cannot be anything but this. Otherwise, man will become a subordinate, as the others can see the weaknesses in the structure of the man. And man cannot be weak. We are not sending farmers in the capital cities with the donkeys and a saddlebag. In so many ways, the knowledge of the science of man, the knowledge of the science of the creation of life in the universe is explained in this little sketch. You change each one to a man, you change each one to a cell, you change each one to a universe, still perfectly matched in working. It's the same as the sun and the earth and creation of matter, like the soul and soul of physicality and the emotion and interaction of their fields to create what we call physical reaction. What has happened in the science of the man is the lack of his understanding of the truth about the creation of physicality of himself. That is not in the matter state, but is in the plasma state. Just because you can chew the meat does not mean that the meat is a matter state. And this is where the man's confusion has come mainly from. But the essential point to understand and to be able to what we call educate the mankind on this subject is for mankind as a whole to understand the truth about his own creation, the positioning of the soul, the interaction with the heart of the man, the interaction of the blood which flows within the vein of the body of the man that creates the soul of physicality, and at the same time creating an interaction with the soul of the man, the emotion, or what we call the plasma of the emotion of the man, or the soul of the plasma of emotion. But to what extent the knowledge seekers will develop this understanding is entirely upon their own understanding of the totality. And how we teach and how we understand the subjects of the creation and the creator. In so many ways, the interaction of the soul of the man with the interaction of the soul of the creator must be creating some material somewhere, like the plasma of the hydrogen and oxygen, and in interaction with the soul of the man creates that star. There cannot be any difference than what is the truth and what we see in the world of the creation. It depends what you have gathered in that soul. That interaction with the soul of the creator, would it create the Saturn, or would it create the Earth, or would it be Mars? In so many ways, as we carry the essence of the soul of the created, we only interact with the creator. And in that process, the plasma of the interaction of the gravitational fields of the man and the magnetical field of the soul of the man with the soul, and gravitational fields and magnetical field of the creator creates a new dimension in the space and in the creator interaction world of creation. Which means our soul on its departure, when it leaves the dimension of the physicality in interaction with the soul of the creator, will create that friction of the plasma of the hydrogen and oxygen and gold, but that will become a new universe, that will become a new galaxy, that will become a new planet. Depends how much and how strong we have created the soul of the man before his departure from the dimension of his physicality. What have we gathered in that we go out? The life of the man is nothing but the same as the planet Earth. The field comes in, the field goes out. And what's within dictates how stronger it goes out. As we say, the North Pole has a higher strength than what we see, less snow on it, compared to the South Pole, that the higher order are less up, but the lower order are more up. And this is the plasma of the cycle of the life of the man, be it 10 days, 10 years, or 10,000 years. The cycle of the life of the man is to collect this plasma. And the strength of what we collect from interaction with the other souls which we serve will dictate in the interaction with the soul of the Creator what shall be created of the soul of the man. And that is the creation of a dust or the creation of the universe. The interaction of the gravitational field of the Creator and the magnetical will lead to creation. When you have nothing, when you have created nothing within the soul of the man to feed it, what do you expect this dust to be? Or have you gathered enough? Have you managed to serve the totality in such a way that you need the creation of a universe? That many dusts will lead to become galaxies in the solar system within the structure of the soul of the man's interaction with the soul of the Creator. I have made the man in the image of myself, that with it I can interact, and in interacting I create what you call different cycles of life across my universe. Now we understand. Would you like to be the soul of the cell and the body of the man, or would you like to be the soul of the universe? This is the whole purpose of the teaching. That mankind understand the process of the creation in respect to itself and what is going to be of his soul when it leaves this physical body of the man and becomes a free soul. And the only interaction with the soul of the Creator, because it was made from and goes back to, would you like to be a beautiful planet like Earth in this structure, or would you like to be a deserted planet, or a moon, or a dust in the speck of the atmospheric condition of the unique house between the Creator and the soul of the man? If human race understand this, he will do nothing but to serve and to share. As he knows, the more he shares with his Creator, the better chance to create a variety of dimensions of the fields which creates the collective essence of the creation of the Creator. Now we understand why we come and why all this teaching has been about the soul and the spirit up to now for mankind, because that was the only kind of language man could understand. Now the knowledge seekers are knowledgeable and understand the totality of the creation. And this allows us to teach so rapidly to bring mankind in line with the rest of the universal community, which is a universe of the Creator in the dimension of understanding to serve the others. When you become a member of the universal community, this is not all honey and pots. It's serving beyond reservation of the understanding what man reserves within it. It's more servitude than, in a way, attitude. You serve, you give, And the more you have to give, the more powerful, the more beautiful creatures you create within the dimension of interaction of the soul of the man and the soul of the. Now we understand the truth about the creation and the creator, and why always has been said, I made man in the image of myself, because that's the only way I have a common denominator that I can interact with, and the interaction with the soul of the man, I can create new dimensions, new energies. Then maybe one of the most mysterious questions ever mankind has asked itself will be answered. Why do some children die at the point of birth? Is their soul mature that it leads to the creation of a new universe without being tinted with the present life of the man? Eating another life, destroying another life, having a plate of a variety of different elements on it, and still thinking, I live a perfect life. Is the soul what we call a fulfilled soul when it leaves at the point of departure from the womb of the mother? Or do we, or are we born to live a life to gather a balance of what we learn as a correct or misconduct, and how the soul of the man being born, let's say at 1,000 level, becomes to live at 200, because the rest has been lost in the process of the physical life of the man to misconduct. In so many ways, the soul of the emotion of the man is one of the most important parts of the creation and the created, where the interaction of the what we call elements of the what we call the soul of the man will create their own cycle of life and shall never finish. I hope, my wish is that some of you understood the teaching in past half an hour, because if you have understood, you will grasp the what we call the statutes of man, which are just, we put the cloth of man on and we leave them on the street. The teachings are becoming shorter and shorter, but with a lot of meaning and understanding. In so many ways, humanity needs to mature very fast about the truth about its own creation, no more.